Okay, so thank you for being here. Today we're going to start our interview with Lisa Rajan and Kim Evans. Lisa is the author of this amazing series, También series, here. And Kim is Collins representative in Buenos Aires in Argentina. So this is our main focus today, this amazing series. Romy, please, could you introduce our...
Yes, so Lisa Rajan is a scientist with a bachelor's degree in biotechnology and a master's degree in science communication from Imperial College London. She has worked in science research, scientific publishing, and medical copywriting. She was elected member of Southwark Council from 2002 to 2016 and was political lead for environment and for children's services between 2006 and 2010. She is the author of the Collins Big Cat También titles, which introduce a range of STEM careers to primary school audiences through exciting adventure stories. And she is married with 3 children and lives in South London. And in her spare time, she runs marathons dressed as Wonder Woman. So thank you, Lisa. And thank you, Kim.
That's me. Thank you very much for having me on.
Okay.
And thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Yes.
Well, we wanted to start by asking you how and when you started writing También series, this series, and what was your inspiration?
I started writing the books in 2015. And have I got some here? I self-published these books, which are the same character and the same premise. They're all about a little girl who does different jobs. And I published them myself because I have 2 sons and a daughter. And when my sons were little, we used to read all kinds of stories to them, but they really loved stories like Bob the Builder and Fireman Sam. And when our daughter came along, she also really enjoyed these stories, but I wanted her to know that it's not always a man that's at the center of things, and it's not, women do these jobs as well, and women are the center of the story. And I wanted her to know this, but I couldn't find the female equivalent of Bob the Builder or Fireman Sam. And so I decided to write stories myself. So I came up with Tara Binns, my main character, and I have her doing all kinds of different jobs and having adventures while she does them and solving problems, so that I could show my daughter primarily that girls can do all these things as well. And then the books became popular with friends of mine who also had daughters and sons, in fact. And I ended up going to visit lots of schools to talk to the children about careers and what you can do when you grow up. And then I met up with HarperCollins, who also wanted to publish something aspirational for girls and something along the lines of careers in primary schools. So it seemed like a good match, a perfect fit. And that's how the new Tara Binns books came about.
Cool.
Yes, we've been reading some of the titles in the series, and we love them because exactly we see a girl that it's a problem solver, and she is doing lots of works that we generally see boys doing.
Yes.
And
yes,
what was the reaction when you visited the schools and you showed them a girl doing this job?
I think in my mind I had half expected the boys to say, "Oh, this is a girl's book. Why are you reading us a girl's book?" But interestingly, none of them did. But all children seemed to project themselves into the story. and say things like, oh, is that what a cockpit looks like? Or is that what it's like in a science lab? And they would also try to, they would say what they would do to solve the problems that she came across. So it was very interesting for me that it wasn't seen as a girl's book, even though, you know, there's a girl on the cover and a girl's name. So it kind of gave me an insight into the way that children receive books, in that if they can get into the story and get into the adventure, I don't think it matters to them whether it's a girl or a boy doing it.
Yes, we love the idea that every story begins more or less the same, that she has this box full of costumes, and she rummages through them until she finds one, and she puts it on, and yes, there's a whole magical thing going on, and she's like transported to another scenario, and she has like kind to learn a bit the ropes of that job and then solve something else. So we thought that was a very powerful metaphor, the box full of outfits. How did you come up with it? I don't know if that was the beginning of your idea when you started writing.
It very much so. The box is definitely a metaphor. To me, the box represents the parent, the teacher, or other adults in a child's life who makes suggestions and tries to broaden their horizons and give them ideas about things that they could do that they may not have thought of. I always have the costume box give Tara Binns the costume, so she doesn't get to choose which job she's doing. It's the work of the box to just give her a costume and almost say, see how you get on, I'm sure you'll be fine. And you're right, she always does have challenges. In the pilot book, she needs to learn very quickly how to fly a plane and to deal with a very bad thunderstorm and land the plane. So I'm always putting in problems and dangerous things and risks that she has to take. So I'm trying to show children that however difficult it might seem, you can do it, you can learn it, because you have the things that it takes already within you to do it. So, but you just may not have seen this before. And then at the end of the book, every time I have her, she comes back home, back to the attic. She's transported back to the attic, and she always says what she liked about the job, what she enjoyed, and she usually says that she'd like to do that job when she grows up, which is my way again of the child coming back to the parent, kind of saying, that was a great idea, thank you for that. And I'm really just trying to broaden horizons and open children's minds, or maybe give them an idea about something they could do that they hadn't thought of before.
Yes, we loved I'm going to read a sentence from one of the books that says, it was full of big ideas, and it always put Tara in an outfit that she wouldn't normally have chosen for herself. So we love this quote in the book and the metaphor. It's great. So now we want to ask Kim, how was the idea of promoting this series of books for girls and adolescents and children? And how came the connection, Colin's connection, Big Cat with Tara Binns?
Yeah, well, the Big Cat is the series that we publish across all of primary, so to have banded readers from early years up to year 6. So we have lots and lots of titles within that, and have a lot of fiction and non-fiction equally split. So I think Lisa may have more details on how it came about with the connection, but I think we wanted something that would work on those STEM areas, and then to sort of grow what we could offer for sort of women and representation in that arena as well. Like Lisa's books were a perfect fit, so we've seen them do really, really well. I think it is important to have that as part of our are offering really for readers in schools, particularly because you may find for some of the pupils it may be they're the only reader that they see that has that sort of representation in STEM careers for whatever reason, if they don't have a lot of books at home. Because as we've said, there's been a lot of books that have been published on this topic and there's a great amount of choice in bookshops, but it may be that book in the school is the only book that kid sees, whether it's a girl or a boy. So I think it's great that we've got them as part of our Big Cat list now. It just gives us
Can
a
I
better...
just add that?
Yeah.
Can I just add something to that? I think they are similar books to these are on a lot of bookshelves. But quite often parents or adults won't buy books for boys that are about a girl.
Exactly.
Whereas if it's in the reading scheme at school, then whether you're a girl or a boy, you're given the book to read. So in the same way that Tara may not choose the costume for herself, exactly. A boy may not pick up a book like this for himself. But once he's into it, it's a different story. So I think it matters. It's very important to me. I'm really thrilled that the books are in the Big Cat scheme because I think then they have a wider reach. And boys, as much as girls, need to know that anybody can do anything, and there aren't jobs that are for boys and jobs that are for girls. I just think it's just as important. So that really meant a lot to me.
And boys benefit from it just as much in a different way to girls from seeing that sort of career options not being gendered at all. Like they can then see themselves in roles that they may not consider as well because that's just been taken away, and they can just enjoy looking at what the different options are. So yeah, they're great. I think they're great.
Books open doors to lots of things and possibilities. So also boys can benefit from this, girls. I think everybody, society itself benefits if they start seeing representation from an early age and at school.
I think it takes the gender out of these jobs. And they just become jobs, and what happens, but it's not about only certain people can do this job and others can't.
And the skills as well that you'd need for those kind of jobs to just have the sort of thinking or the boy brain that people then would put in a certain box is just taken away. And if a girl finds that she enjoys the problem solving skills that you'd need, that they see in these kind of stories, then they can suddenly see themselves as an engineer or as a scientist or an inventor, and that's it's just a sort of mental block that's taken away by a book.
I try to focus in every book on the character traits, so things like imagination and curiosity and creativity, which children see themselves. A child, she might see herself as creative, but she wouldn't see herself as sciencey. And so I'm trying to say, you don't need to be good at science and maths, but you need to work well in teams, or you need to be able to communicate your ideas well. And if you can do all of those things, then you've got what it takes.
Yes, Tara is very observant. And we said that it's a problem solver, but she has this natural common sense, how she analyzes the situations and comes up with the solutions. And she's always with two other characters, or Tess and Ayesha together. So we see the three of them throughout the series as well. Mm-hmm. Yes. They are over there.
We were wondering, how do they add to representation? Is that to strike a balance, maybe?
Yes, I mean, they're there for several reasons. Mm-hmm. I try to get as much diversity as I can in the books with all of the characters, but primarily with Ortez and Aisha, just so that all children see themselves in these books, but they also see that anybody, anyone from any race or any background or any religion can also be a vet or a pilot or anything. But I have them there as enablers. So to me, they represent the fact that even if you are a girl who wants to be an engineer, and there aren't very many engineers who are women, there are some, and there are always people doing that job who will help you and who will enable you to get into it. So they're there to represent the women already in those jobs, but also to try and get as much diversity. I tried to get disability in. I tried to have other religions represented in an appropriate and sensitive way, just so that everybody can see themselves in the books.
Good. And in relation to the fact that you are a scientist and you also write books, while you were studying and doing your research, we were wondering, how was the ratio, the women-men ratio, and if that caught your attention? I mean, your own personal experience as a scientist about this of gender equality.
Well, I mean, I found on my university course, my university was Imperial College, and it just specialises in science and engineering. And on my course, it was about 50-50 men and women, and I studied biotechnology. And for the biological sciences at Imperial, it was about 50-50. But I noticed I had friends, for example, one of my friends, she was on the mechanical engineering course, and she was one of only 2 women on her course. There were about 90 people, and there were only 2 women. And likewise on the maths and the physics courses, they weren't quite that few women, but there was about 1 in 4, 1 in 5. So there was a big imbalance. And I mean, although this was about 30 years ago when I was at university, but I did look into what the figures are for those same courses today, and they're not much better. There are more women, especially in the physical sciences, but it's nowhere near equal. And so it matters to me that I try to encourage girls to go into science and engineering and medicine, so that in future there is a bit more parity, because I just think it gives women more the potential to earn more money and to rise higher in their jobs, and then that will give them in turn more power and control over their own lives, which I think is a very very important thing. So I think things are improving, perhaps not as fast as I would like them to, but it is going in the right direction.
So yeah, you wish for the future to be more balanced in terms of
yes. I mean, I'd like things to be fairer. I'd like to see definitely more equality of opportunity, just so that everybody can fulfill their potential and can do the things that they dream of. And also I think I'd like everyone to be treated as individuals with different ambitions and wants and needs, and to be able to do that. And I think there are lots of people in the world who are enabling girls and women at all the different stages, and I see primary school just to try and keep girls on that path and think that science is open to them for as long as possible. I mean, it's not for everybody, and everybody wants to do something different, but I just want to keep doors open for as long as possible, so that if that's what they would like to do, they don't rule it out too early.
And in that sense, what does it mean that the series has been endorsed by the WISE campaign?
Yes, the WISE campaign is Women in Science and Engineering. It's an organisation based in Britain, and there are women in all kinds of jobs actually that have some sort of sciencey link, who they are ambassadors for getting more girls and women to go into STEM jobs. And so with each of the books, we the text and the illustrations go off to, so for the vet book, they went to 3 women vets and, you know, scientists and astronauts even, so that they could point out any inaccuracies or anything I'd got wrong or anything that wasn't being represented right. So they were involved in the actual, you know, in the content of the stories, but also they used the stories to promote, to get more girls and women to go into engineering. So it's all part of a big group effort, which is great.
Teamwork.
Yes, it is. It's teamwork at its finest.
Yeah. I imagined in relation to the future also how cool it is that maybe a girl or a boy or a kid, any kid that read Tara Binns' story then decided to become an engineer, an astronaut, you know. Has any kid told you, like, right away after reading it, like, okay, because I read this, I want to be, or I would like to be a doctor, I don't know, mechanic? Does that happen?
Yes, I have had children. I've been to schools where a child has come up to me afterwards and just hugged me. It has been so emotional and so overwhelmed. It's obviously turned a light bulb on with them, and just changed the way they think. And that has been one of the most rewarding experiences. A friend of mine phoned me once and said, I've just been on a railway station platform and there was a child who was holding one of your books and reading it again and again and again. It was a doctor book, and talking about it to her mum. And my friend went over and said, oh, I know the author of that book. And the mother said, oh, she won't put it down. She takes it everywhere with her, everywhere. And we have read it 100 times. And she wants to be a doctor because of the book. And, you know, stories like that are so, it's the ultimate for me. You know, it's why I do it. It really makes everything worthwhile. And if one child or one girl grew up and became an engineer because she had read one of my books, I would be so thrilled about that.
It's really rewarding.
Oh, it's so rewarding. It makes me very emotional. And when I visit schools, after I read some of the books, and I take a box of costumes for all the children to dress up in, and we dress up and we all talk about what it might be like to do some of these jobs. And I always finish the session asking children what they would like to be when they grow up. And the discussion goes on and on and on. And, you know, in the end, the teacher has to kind of pull me out of the room, because once you get children thinking about what excites them and what they might like to do, it's just so wonderful. And to see their faces light up when they're thinking about their own futures is a really, really rewarding part of it.
And we heard that it's another series coming with Tara's sister. Is that right?
Yes. Tara now has a little sister called Danny Binns. The first 4 Danny Binns books came out in May, at the end of May, and there's another 4 coming out in September. So far I've done a firefighter, a paramedic, a builder, and a chef. And in September she's about to be a police officer, a train driver. Oh gosh, I can't even remember.
You probably know these as well.
Farmer. It's so long ago I wrote them. I can't remember.
Hang on, I can get...
Yes, so there are going to be 8 Danny Binns books, and there are now 12 Tara Binns. So in Tara Binns I tend to cover more STEM jobs, but with Danny Binns are aimed at Key Stage 1, or, you know, children ages 4 to 6. So they're shorter, and they're sort of aimed at early readers. So I've chosen jobs that children have heard of at that age. So they're not so sciencey, but I do still try and get in, aspects of science, just because I can't help myself, really.
Yeah, and a myriad of possibilities. And this is so important that we have like graded readers here, for example, in Argentina, where we teach English as a foreign language. So it is important to have like different levels, but with content and with a strong message and powerful message as the series you are creating. So that makes our job easier to teach English and to teach for equality and equal opportunities. So that's wonderful.
It's wonderful for me that the books are being used in Argentina. I just think that's fantastic. Really, really fantastic.
Yeah. It's great because as Romina said, we have the progression, and these books can be throughout primary, so in different levels.
Yes.
So we'll be waiting also for Dani now.
Yeah. I mean, it's writing the books at different levels of the scheme actually works out very well for me. And for example, where is it? The Coda book. That's at Sapphire level, which is aimed more at 10, 11-year-olds. And that enabled me to explore some different themes around children and technology and gaming, and the sort of more emotional sides of things, and some of the conflicts and issues that children have when they're online. So that was quite nice, that because they are for older readers, I can get into different aspects better. So that's I enjoy that. That's really good for me.
Yes, here we have the bands at the back of each book. Yeah. So we have the different bands at the back.
And they have a color, right? Assigned?
Yeah, exactly. So we have 18 altogether. And I think they go up to Sapphire, is it so far at the moment? Or do you have a pearl one yet? That's part of Tara?
I have a diamond.
A diamond,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's a good...
Are there any jobs, Lisa, that you're keen to get on that you haven't covered yet? I'm curious.
Yes. I've actually... I've written a proposal for some more, which I'm waiting to hear if I get to write some more. But I'd really like to do a deep sea explorer, sort of down in the Mariana Trench, and a helicopter pilot, an architect. What were some of the others? Oh, I can't think now. A barrister. I'd like to do a
barrister.
I think there's issues there, logic and persuasion and communication skills. So I'd like to do that. But yes, I think the Deep Sea Explorer is the one I'm keenest to write next.
That would be amazing. Absolutely. I'm sure we'll get that.
Yes.
I hope so.
We love the variety also of the proposals, the job proposals that are included in the series. So that's great. It gives representation, it gives possibilities. So we really love reading the series. Thank you.
Yeah, they are very high quality from all senses. I mean, the quality of the book, the material. It has a reading guide that it is written. Well, here I have Claire Dowdall, PhD. She's a lecturer and primary literacy consultant. So yes, it has this as an aid for the teachers so that they can carry out literacy activities to make the most of the series. So it's very complete. It's super for the teachers.
Yeah, I mean, they look amazing. I love the Alessia Tronfio is the lady who illustrated them. She's in Italy, and she's just done the most. I just think it's she's really brought the character to life. There's so much energy, and it's almost like a manga style. I'm trying to find some good examples.
I was going to say like a comic. I mean, you see action in the pictures. Not only you can read it, but you can see it. So it's very appealing for all kids, I would say, but especially young kids, and then when they start becoming
I will totally see Tara Beans in cartoons, for example, in action with these illustrations. Like I can picture Tara Beans. Or
like short films, animated episodes
of
the
episodes of each Tara Beans series.
I mean, it really lends itself to being a TV series, and I would absolutely love it if it was. I mean, they're so beautifully done, and they're just full of heroism and energy, and I just think they really would make great short films or TV series would be fantastic. Maybe one day.
Why not?
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you so much, Kim, for sharing this talk with us, so we can present your books, the series, to more teachers in Argentina.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today.
Thank you. We want always to present material possibilities that bring equally representation to our students in our lessons, in our classrooms. So we consider that this is an excellent opportunity to do that.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.